that Mexico is unwilling to deal with. They're encouraging their poorest of the poor to leave their country and head to the U.S. because they do not want to deal with their problem, their poor problem, their lack of integrity. And it's amazing that they want to send them here because our government has a lack of integrity, but it shines, it far outshines the integrity of the Mexican government, of the Ecuadorian government, of the South American governments. You're going to start to hear this. Americans are everybody from North America to South America. Mexicans are Americans. Brazilians are Americans. Want to know why? Because I recently had a talk with a person who comes from one of those Central American countries asking me, why do people from the United States call themselves Americans, but they don't consider the Central Americans and South Americans Americans? And I had to think about it for a moment, because sure, it's Central America and South America. But when you're talking about America, Americans, it's not just the people in North America who think Americans are people from the United States. It's the Europeans who think that. It's the Middle Easterners who think that. When you talk America, just about everybody in the world that's not from North America or the United States thinks American means from the United States. A person from Brazil doesn't say, I'm American, when they go to Europe or to Russia or to Africa. They say they're Brazilian. That gets me off. I go off on a tangent here on the side note. But this is something you're going to be hearing because it's a movement to legitimize people who are coming to the United States illegally, to give them equal status to the people who were born in the United States. We have the governments of the Central and South American countries encouraging their people to migrate to the United States illegally because they don't want to deal with their poor. They don't have the means to deal with their poor. So let's let the United States deal with it. Deal with their problem. So I have one solution. And Mr. Trump, I wish you would listen. I wish you would hear me on this one, because this is a bigger threat than any of the countries in the Middle East. And that is people coming from Central and South America into this country illegally. You know it, Mr. President. Many people know it. But the deal is that if we don't start talking tough with Mexico, like we would talk tough to North Korea, like we would talk tough to Iran, and tell them we're going to bomb them into submission if they don't get this thing under control. See, if it continues, you're going to have people like me advocating. If we have to deal with Mexico's problems, if we have to deal with South American problems and Central American problems, then we might as well own that land. And I'm not for war. But if they're not going to control their problem and they're forcing it on the United States, then I see no other option than sending our troops deep into Mexico, 50, 60 miles, if not all the way through it, just to stop the flow of people coming into this country. Because they're shoving off these people they don't want onto us. These people are taking their kids through horrors, tremendous dangers, just to get here. And if we're talking human rights issues, then as a human rights issue, we need to go into Mexico and straighten that place out if they don't do it themselves. That might get rid of some of the drug cartels anyways, and that might get rid of that gang, or at least put a nice damper on that gang coming into the U.S. called MS-13. We may have to do that. It's not a pretty solution. It's not a pretty picture. But if we're going to be forced into caring for their problems, their poor people, because they're shuffling, they're encouraging, they're shuffling, they're throwing them up this way because they don't want to deal with their poor problem, then they're going to force the United States into doing something very drastic. So my advice to Mr. Trump is to start talking really tough to the Mexican president and to Mexico and warning them if they don't get a handle on this thing, we're going to do it. We're not going to keep accepting their refugees because they are sending them up here because they don't want to deal with it. If we're going to be forced into dealing with it, then the best option is to head into Mexico with our military and deal with it down in Mexico, not here in the United States. I'm not advocating for invading Mexico. I am saying it's going to be inevitable if we do not get a handle on this crisis and force Mexico and the rest of the Central and South American countries to get their crap together. Because it is not the United States' responsibility to take care of their poor people. We have our own poor people that we can't help because we're too busy helping the people who are coming here illegally who aren't our own and who are suffering because their own countries are too damn corrupt and suck. And if we're going to clean up countries in the Middle East, and if we're going to engage with countries in Asia, then it's time we look Mexico in the face and we tell them, get your crap together and lock down the border on your side. Otherwise, we're coming in and we're going to clean it up for you. And guess what? You're not going to be in charge anymore. That's just me, though, folks. I'm not saying that's what I want. I'm saying that's going to be the only way to clean this up if we don't start talking seriously tough with Mexico. Because this is their problem. This is not the United States' problem. They're putting their problem on us. And you know what? I'm sick of neighbors dropping their problems on their neighbors, not thinking of the other country, not being responsible enough to keep their problems on their own side of the fence. Boy, I might get some hate mail over this. But again, I'm not saying I want to go to war. I do not want to go to war with Mexico. They are leaving us not much of a choice because they are not doing a service to their people. They're not being a good neighbor. They are encouraging their people to jump the fence and hang around in our yard. Take from our people, take from the mouths of our people, take from our pocketbooks, and if we don't do it, they claim human rights issues. They claim that we're the bad guy when they are the ones that are shuffling their problems out of there. They're the ones who can't deal with their own problems. They're the ones who are so corrupt and so inept that doing the right thing is impossible. Smoke them if you got them.
Because the John Lebang Show will be right back
after this.
That's guaranteed. Yes.
Pane in the Glass, commercial and residential window cleaning for a beautiful sparkling shine that's crystal clear. Call Pane in the Glass Window Cleaning. You can find them on Facebook at Pane in the Glass. Quality One Painting. For interior and exterior painting needs, call Tom at Quality One, 313-982-2986. Tom will give you free estimates, senior discounts, and I can tell you from meeting the gentleman, he's one of the nicest guys on the face of the planet. So for a quality paint job with a professional attitude, call Tom at Quality One Painting. That's 313-982-2986. 313-982-2986. Quality One Painting.
You're listening to the John Lebang Show.
Join the radio revolution right here.
It's better than some good Thai stick, man.
Yes, I would like some too.
Leroy, is the geek back? I don't think so, Uncle Shady.
Well, I hope he gets back soon. I'm out of beer.
We're out of a lot of things, Uncle Shady.
I know, Leroy. I know. What are you doing over there?
Oh, I'm just checking my messages, Uncle Shady.
Are you on that dating site again?
Yeah, Uncle Shady.
Leroy, I told you to get off that site. Ain't no woman on there worth talking to.
Well, I'm talking to a couple of them, Uncle Shady.
Yeah? Then why haven't you been on a date yet?
I don't know, Uncle Shady. One of them said we could go out.
When did she say that?
About a week ago, Uncle Shady.
So when you going out, Leroy?
I don't know, Uncle Shady. She won't reply to me, Uncle Shady.
Well, what kind of messages have you been sending?
Well, I've been asking her about doing some things, but she hasn't replied to me yet, Uncle Shady.
How many times have you asked her to do things, Leroy?
It's 3 times now, Uncle Shady.
And has she ignored you every time?
That's right, Uncle Shady.
Now, does she ignore you when you talk about her?
No, Uncle Shady. If I ask her how she's doing, she'll tell me how she's doing.
Well, that means one thing then, Leroy. She's got someone better to hang out with than you.
Then why did she say she'd go out with me, Uncle Shady?
She's just keeping you in the circle, Leroy. In case she doesn't have something to do one night, she'll call you up so you spend money on her. Now, what about the other girls you're talking to?
Well, this one here, Uncle Shady, she seems to really like me, Uncle Shady.
Well, why haven't you gone out on a date with her?
Well, she's married, Uncle Shady.
So she's just keeping you as a backup, too. See, she's just like the other girl. You just don't know it.
I don't understand, Uncle Shady.
You're just the backup, Leroy. You're there when they're either bored, lonely, or feel like doing something different than they normally do. Otherwise, Leroy, you're not important.
I don't understand, Uncle Shady.
Listen here, Leroy. If women ain't giving you attention, you're not important. If they're married, you're only important when their husband isn't around. It's normal behavior these days. You're in that friends with benefits zone, and normally the benefits you won't get. And when you do get it, it's only because she has time to fit you in.
Uncle Shady, I don't get any of that.
That's because you're not important, Leroy. Listen to what I'm saying. If the woman ain't chasing after you and making you the number one priority above all else and finds a way to make it happen, she doesn't want you, Leroy. She only wants you around when she got the time to be around you.
But the one says she really likes me, Uncle Shady.
Yeah? How often do you see her?
Well...
Yeah, when she can sneak around all the other people. If she's only sneaking around to meet with you, Leroy, you're not number one. You're probably more like number 2.
Well, how do I find a good woman, Uncle Shady?
These days, it's a crapshoot, Leroy. I don't know if there are good women anymore.
What am I going to do, Uncle Shady?
Well, you can get yourself a blow-up doll or a sex robot.
But they're not real women, Uncle Shady.
Yeah, well, that might be a bonus, Leroy, because that means you don't have to hear their complaining either.
All right, I'm back.
All right, where's my beer, geek?
Oh, I forgot it.
What do you mean you forgot it?
It just slipped my mind.
You must have been thinking about women.
No, I was thinking about the lottery ticket.
I'll get the phone. MW. Well, it's Maria. Hello, Maria.
Oh, you knew it was me?
Well, that's what caller ID is for. Didn't you know that? What are you calling for now?
Oh, I'm calling for a favor.
I know you're calling for a favor. That's the only time you ever call. So what the hell do you want?
Well, I can't get anybody else to do this for me. So I was wondering if you could help me out.
Help you out with what?
I'm having so much trouble with everything. I was wondering if you could help me.
Let me make this clear to you. I'm not interested. Why don't you call one of those men you go out with and have them do it?
Well, none of them were able to help.
They're finally getting smart. How about this for a novel idea? Why don't you find one man, keep him, make him happy, and then maybe you'll have someone to do stuff for you when you need it done.
But I don't want one man.
And that's why you don't have anyone to help you. With that being said, I got one more thing for you. Goodbye.
Who was that, Uncle Shady?
Oh, one of those kind of women I was warning you about, Leroy.